Nick Pirro, welcome to the Howie Carr Show.
Hey, thank you, Howie, for having me on the show. I really appreciate the chance to connect with the community and share why I'm running for Senate.
Yeah, you've taken a lot of shots. They dragged out your, some problems you've had in the past. Nothing serious, but they're obviously scared of you.
Honestly, Howie, I'm genuinely disappointed at how our current state senators resorted to these childish personal attacks, using them as a way to distract voters from who he's actually working for. Instead of focusing on real issues that really matter, like transparency, spending, and real leadership, he's spending time and resources on personal smears. It's disappointing to me, and it really speaks volumes about his character and priorities. I really hope for better at a local level.
So there's 40 members of the Massachusetts State Senate. 36 of them are Democrats, yet they're pouring all kinds of money into this race to make sure there doesn't get to be a fifth Democrat or a sixth or a seventh Democrat in Taunton or on Cape Cod or anywhere like that. What are they so worried about having a few more Republicans in the legislature, Nick Pirro?
Our campaign's powered by the people of the district, and I don't think that's what they want. 99% of our support's coming from individuals, and over half of them were from in the district directly. By contrast, my opponent has 90% of his contributions from outside the district, and a lot of it from special interests. So it's clear that they don't want a regular person who's never been involved to speak up against the machine.
Why'd you get involved in this fight? You have a business, correct?
I do. I have 4 businesses. I have 30 full-time employees, and I've got an amazing staff that I've surrounded myself with. And they've really done an amazing job, and they're a big part of the reason that I'm able to do this, because they've taken on the extra work. But I just felt like in December that I really needed to be involved. And it took me a little bit of time to work up some courage and tell my wife in January that I thought I needed to be here and do this, because this is something that we've never discussed for our plans in our life, and it was nothing that I had ever been involved in. She was a little hesitant at first, but she's supportive, and we had tried to keep the family out of it because it's something I felt like I had to do. But unfortunately, like you mentioned earlier, the current senator is trying to drag them into it instead of addressing the real issues at hand.
So have you had any debates against Senator Cronin?
Yeah, we did about 3 weeks ago. And actually, during our debate, my opponent actually suggested that the rents in central Massachusetts are too low for economic development.
Too low?
I was as surprised as you are to hear him say that. It's his solution is to force mandates on towns to address it, which I completely disagree with. Mandates only burden the towns and stifle growth. We need to ease up on unnecessary roadblocks that slow things down. I don't know. Maybe he wanted to raise the rent so he could pay himself some more money.
Rent. It's a form of rent control. As a former resident of Cambridge in those days, it didn't work out that well. It didn't work out that well in Boston either. I assume you're raising this issue as you go door to door in your district.
I am, and to be honest with you, Howie, I have some apartments of my own. I have not raised the rent of a single tenant since prior to COVID, because I know times are tough out here, and I know people are struggling. And the rents are already way too high. I can't imagine thinking that they needed to be raised higher to entice developers to come to the area. There's got to be better ways to get developers to come to this area than to raise rents to make it financially worthwhile for them.
So what town? I know you got a lot of towns, but and cities. But what cities and towns does the Middlesex and Worcester district include?
So it's Clinton, Lancaster, Leominster, Fitchburg, Ashby, Townsend, Lunenburg, Shirley, Groton, and Westford.
So it's a big hunk of the middle of the state.
Yes, sir.
And so why should people make your pitch to the people of the district? Why should they vote for Nick Pirro instead of the incumbent Cronin?
Well, the big part of it is this one-party rule that Massachusetts is in right now. It's allowed for unchecked spending, blatant conflicts of interest, and a complete disregard for transparency in Massachusetts. With one party controlling everything, you end up with brazen actions like the governor appointing her ex-girlfriend to the Supreme Judicial Court. It's not only inappropriate, it's a clear demonstration of the entitlement that comes from a lack of competition. I mean, we need balance to bring transparency, accountability, and a check on the misuse of power.
And they won't do anything about the shelter law that allows all these illegal aliens to come into the state and immediately demand to be fed and housed for forever, apparently.
Yeah, Howie, I'm all for helping people, and I believe in lending a helping hand, not a handout. I think that we need to amend the right to shelter law so we do not continue to be a magnet state. Those that are already here, whether they be here legally or illegally, I think we need to get them a path to getting to work so we can help them become self-sufficient and be productive members of society and contribute. And it's unsustainable spending the money that we are right now. We are cutting resources to towns, so schools, police, fire departments. We're having to cut resources there while we add additional people to an already burdened system.
How much of the special interest dumping into your opponent's campaign?
Just under half. 110,000 from special interest, 85,000, which just came in the last 2 weeks.
85,000 in the last 2 weeks.
Yeah, I'm assuming they probably got some polling numbers they didn't like.
Again, Nick Pirro, what are they afraid of? One more Republican at the State House?
I don't know if it's a Republican or if it's me. I think it's more for what I stand for, the average person who has had enough, and they don't want other people to think that just any old person can run for office and do their civic duty. That's what it used to be about. It was never a career. People would have their businesses. They would commit a few years of their life to public service and give back. Now it seems as though people want to make this a career for the rest of their life, and they want to hold on to that power. So somebody like me upsets the apple cart.
Boy, they've come after you with everything but the kitchen sink. They even had sealed records they dug up, right?
Howie, if my opponent wants to bring up my past, we got to put some things in perspective here. Some of what he's referencing goes back as far as 2002. I mean, I was 24 years old and still had a lot of growing up to do. That was almost half my life ago. It's not even close to a true representation of the man I am today. In 2007, I was standing up for women within my group late at night in Boston, and if taking a stand makes me a bad person, then so be it. And I haven't wanted to address this, but as for 2023, well, it's no secret now that a situation involved my son. I had hoped for some decency during this campaign, but it looks like that's gone out the window. Now, I'll say this much. Parenting can be challenging, as many people know. My son was never spanked or hit by me or anyone else in the family, nor was anyone else. And to clarify for any of those implying I may have struck my wife, I restrained my son that night, which my entire family would confirm. I've invited the police into my home, and although I didn't agree with how they handled it at the time, the court looked at all the facts and decided not to proceed any further. I appreciate the police did what they thought was best, and I'm thankful the court saw it for what it truly was. Parenting isn't always perfect, Howie. And it's
I know.
Something that can be it's something that can be unfairly judged by a lot of people who haven't lived through these challenges.
Yeah, no, I read some of the stories, and I didn't think they were particularly damning, Nick Pirro. I don't.
No. Yeah.
You're paying the price. This is what they do to people who are gonna rock the apple cart, rock the boat.
Yeah, most parents would understand. Raising kids into adults isn't always easy. So I'm not addressing it. I'm staying focused on serving the community, not defending against these really personal, unnecessary attacks. And I have to be clear. Any charges ever placed on me, ever, have been dismissed, and I've never been convicted of a single thing, ever.
Nick Pirro, if people want to get involved in your campaign here in the final days, if they either contribute money or hold a sign, I'm sure it's kind of this big a district, you could use some more signs out, I'm sure, right?
We've got almost 1,600 signs out there, but I could use some people to help hold signs. As always, many hands make light work.
So where can they go to get involved in your campaign, Nick Pirro?
They can visit my website at pirroforsenate.com, or they can follow us on Facebook and Instagram at Nick Pirro for State Senate.
And again, for those of you who are familiar with the other Pirros, this is Pirro, right?
Yes, sir. And not to be confused, there was a Nicholas Pirro out in New York that was in politics as well. That was a Nicholas J. Pirro.
Okay. I didn't know that one. I just know Vinny and Peter. All right.
Yep.
Nick Pirro, we wish you the best, and boy, they can use some more Republicans in the Massachusetts State Senate and the Massachusetts House, and I hope you do well on Tuesday. Thank you, Nick Pirro.